Tom told me I only had 3 minutes and make sure that I was crisp in my presentation. And after 30 years with Xerox, I learned how to follow the directions real well. But I would tell you this is such a great day for me. First, I want to give thanks to my Lord Jesus Christ, my Savior, because without Him, nothing's really happened for me in my life. Second, I want to say thanks to my family for being here today. My nephew, who is currently here at DeMatha today. And it's just a special time. I was here a couple of years ago and had a conversation with Morgan. And I'll tell you guys a few funny stories. I have to do that. And so, Tom, you better get your hook out because you might have to use it. Being at DeMatha, there's some sayings that you hear as you're being a part of the fabric of this. Remember who you are and what you represent. That was something that Morgan told us all the time. When you walk around with stag on you, it's very important. And if I get a little emotional, I'm 6'6" and I can handle myself. So. And I brought some big friends with me too, and I'll talk about them in a little while. You know, in Proverbs, it says that, sharp people sharpen one another, just as iron sharpens iron. That is so important because I think the DeMatha family, I think that statement says it. When you come here, you're just a piece of metal. But as you go along the journey, you meet a lot of fantastic people that sharpen your skills and sharpen who you are. And I think that's a part of my experience at DeMatha. You know, during my time at DeMatha, a lot of people touched me. And you know, one of the things they tell you when you become a pitch master in a corporation is that you should never mention names because you're always going to leave somebody out. But the fact that I'm 60 and I'm a little senile, I figured I would do it anyway. But there's some people I do want to mention because some of them aren't here anymore, and I just think it's important because the legacy of this place is just tremendous. And the first person is Bernard Williams. Used to pick me up and bring me to school every day. Bernie is gone now, but he was way before his time, and he was just a great player. John and Ernie Austin. Funny story, I'll tell you real quick. I didn't know about DeMatha. My oldest brother went to Eastern High School, and him and John were good friends. And basically they met and said, we want you to go to DeMatha. So I went up to Morgan's camp, like most of us sitting in this room, especially if you played basketball. We went to Morgan's camp, and I wanted to be a great basketball player. That was just a passion. You know, Morgan walked up to me one day, he said, let's go to lunch. So we went to lunch, and I had the opportunity to meet him and his beautiful wife. And from that day on, I was a stag because I learned about the culture, I learned about the history, and I just wanted to become a part of it. So Kathy and Morgan, you've been wonderful. Some other people who were this beneficial. George McCarthy. We talked about Brendan, but poor George. When I came to DeMatha, I didn't know anything about playing organized football. And so Buck Offit, he's Buck. Buck is, you know, those of you who played for Buck know about this. Because when he's doing this, you're doing something wrong. But he would give you this tremendous smile when you did something right that made you feel real good about yourself and what you've accomplished. Clark Mester, who's not here tonight. Ricky Cook, who played with Aubrey, Phil Watney, and myself. Bob Whitmore, who's here tonight, and I really appreciate it. Ricky McPherson, who's here tonight. A name that most of you don't know about, Johnny Jones, a tremendous player who walked these halls. Eric Mitchell, who's here tonight, he's my namesake, and we're doing things together. That's what's so important. 40 years went by, and now Eric and I are in business together. But that's a part of that DeMatha family and what we're trying to do. We just never forget each other. We just continue to be team players, and we continue to work together. Garrett Ford. A lot of you may or may not know about Garrett, but I tell you what, him and Brendan McCarthy was a 1-2 team that you really couldn't stop on the football field. James Brown, who's working right now, or he would be here. Barbara Trini, Mickey and Terry Wiles, Steve Garrett, Billy Height, Sid Catlett, and my two brothers in life, Orby Nash and Bill Watley. Thank you. If I didn't mention your name, you can't hold it against me, because when you get my age, you're allowed to forget things from time to time. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't mention some people who were very special. And I did a little earlier. And I'll tell a few stories right here. And Tom, give me the hook. But I have to tell one story, because I've told this story in corporate meetings to CFOs. At the end of the year, it's bonus time. So everybody wants to know how the year is going to end. I was responsible for accounts receivables, and at the end of the year, that was very key to people's bonuses. You know, you can't have a lot of aged receivables out there, and I'm talking about millions. And they would give me a call, and I would tell them this story, and this is a true story. We were playing Lutheran Catholic in New York City. We were 28 points behind with 8 minutes to go. And Morgan leans in the huddle and he says, "We got them right where we want them." You know? and he would always put his one finger up like that to get our attention. Well, let me tell you, and Aubrey knows it, Phil knows it, and Morgan knows it. We won that game. And so the point that I made in those boardrooms was that, look, it doesn't matter where we are. You know, if you keep fighting, you can win. You can, and I used to tell my managers that, and they used to think I was kidding until they found out that I was really telling the truth. It's an incredible story, and it's true. And so you can do anything if you really believe in yourself and who you are and what you represent. Frank Buford. A lot of you, some of you may or may not know Frank. But Frank could break basketball down to the lowest common denominator. He would tell you how to play defense, how to back people down, how to block out. Frank was just fantastic. Mr. Moreland, he tells a joke like it was a joke, but it's the truth. I was a handful at DeMatha. I was truly a handful. And I challenged John from time to time. And funny story, he said, "Look, I'm not sure if you're going to graduate or not. You know, you got to." But when I opened that diploma and saw that I was okay, John had my back. And John knew that he needed to teach me some lessons. And he did. And so I learned from that. And I learned that be serious about the opportunity for education and so on and so forth. Now, I want to end with some things that have been very important to me in my life. It's just some words that I use that really mean a lot to me. And the first one is humor. You know, Morgan used to always say, have fun. You have to have fun, you have to have passion. But you know, you have to learn to laugh at yourself. You know, if you do something, you have to have humor. You have to enjoy life, because life is short. And if you don't, that's a tragedy. Humility. And to me, that's my moment